Dude, I just
That's the room.
if there was any day to have high energy,
That's it.
Huh?
Just press the edge.
how about the day that exists? The only thing that exists, right? Come on, man. I've been waiting all night. Let's go.
Okay, so like in the history of time,
Ooh.
we'll sometimes see teams that have a backup quarterback battle. Some days Joe Schmo will be the first one to enter. Some days Fred Schmo might be the first one to enter behind the start. So I was curious, and without getting into specific names of the question, I was curious what has led to you not taking that approach in recent days of necessarily alternating second team quarterback and where that competition stands.
So that's a great question because without me answering it, you'd have no clue why. So I'm here to provide the why for Barry and Barry only, nobody else. So every year presents new challenges. We have guys that have developed in our offense and have done so from day one in a competitive environment, and we're very routine with the pattern with which we were giving the opportunities to quarterbacks up until this training camp. Really with between Mike and Skylar, we were very routine. This day, 2s, next day 3s. So in the vein of competition, we putting our heads together from a staff perspective, we felt like that routine in itself might not be doing justice to the players, and that the competitiveness would be best served if we changed up the routine for the change's sake. Because with that, there's so many competing variables to deal with as a quarterback, particularly a backup quarterback that is in charge of leading a team to victory if Tua goes down. All of those things, all those challenges, we get to evaluate with not only the player playing in the huddle, but then how does someone respond when you get less reps, which is kind of the nature of backup quarterbacks. So all evaluation tools with the intent of not making it as consistent, but over the whole scope of camp, to be able to make sure that those are even, but just patternize it a little differently to make sure that competition stays fresh, and we allow the players to tell us who 2 and who 3 are, just like at every other position, because I see better than I hear.
So Tua wants to play this preseason game. Will he and the rest of the starters?
Whew. I think, I anticipated this question. And so I thought, how can I responsibly answer it and just be honest? Well, the idea from a starting point is that, I want some starters to play in the game. Now, to say exactly which individuals those are, specifically with the collection of injuries that you have to manage, and not really knowing what takes place today, we'll make some final assessments on who those players are going to be as a staff tomorrow. But the approaching it, and as I've explained to the players, the approach will be that the guys that are known starters, with exceptions, but the starting point is that they will get some action this game, and then we'll just take it case by case from there.
Mike, can you provide any sort of update on where Bradley Chubb stands in his recruitment?
The update is that he's it's going much like the ongoing conversation's been about Jalen Phillips, in that, like, the no timeline making sure that he has no setbacks in the whole process. And I can tell you with exuberance that there's been no setbacks. So he's progressing, and we will, when making sure that when he's on the field, he's there to stay. So he's doing a great job understanding his role to the team. Very important player for this team. Might be one of the most, if not the most popular player on the team. Just I don't think there's a teammate that he can't reach. And with that connectivity, there's some responsibility that goes there for the organization. So he's being very wise beyond his years in terms of making sure that he doesn't, in a heat of competitiveness, overstep boundaries too soon. So happy with where he's at.
How challenging do you think the Washington defensive front might be in today's practice?
I think it's going to be a great competitive challenge. You hope to have opportunities like this in a practice setting where you can have not only an adjustment in scheme, but then have really good players in the scheme doing their techniques and fundamentals. It's the absolute best way to make the day matter and get a game-like experience. So I'm really excited for that. And it's excitement to get better. Really good players generally have some good plays. So, I think understanding that and knowing that, the whole unit will definitely challenge us. I have a lot of history with, the head coach, and then know a lot of the guys that are coaching over there. They're going to compete. And that's all we try to do each and every day. And I'm sure the really good players are going to try to compete. That's why they're really good players. So it'll be awesome for us.
Mike, in practice today, have you guys structured it where you're going to see ones versus ones, twos versus twos? Do you mix it up, ones versus twos? How have you?
We generally this practice you'll see a lot of ones versus ones, twos versus twos. That's you can have whys and reasons to do things a multitude of ways. That's something that I know from experience with Coach Quinn that he's had that philosophy. The good on good is it's been said to me for years. So and we share that. So there was some congruence there. And that's what you should expect for the most part. There's always adjustments, particularly when two teams have their own set of issues with regard to, what position is really stressed that day relative to the whole 90-man roster. So there'll always be a little give and take, depending on how many reps a person can get, how many times that we can give their defense a personnel that necessitates big nickel versus nickel that determines how many nickel reps that gets. So if people get extra reps, you might see some guys that are the ones going with the twos or vice versa because of some adjustments, but for the most part, it should be ones versus ones.
Sort of a philosophical roster question for you when it comes to cut down day. How do you balance the idea of taking a look at all the reps that occurred back in OTAs, early in camp, all the way up until cut down day? Is that the approach, or is it more like you took that time to build up to who you are today, like as cutoff day, and then we're evaluating who you are at that point? Does that?
No, it makes sense. It is something that I think is the only way I know how to, truly do right by the evaluation of all of our players, for not only the individual players, but for the organization. Collectively having a ton of conversations, and then what to me is the only way to approach it is investing every day in guys' story on the field and seeing how they adjust to turmoil, seeing where, you want to be in front of that stuff. So you always have things to coach to see if, the pattern is that you're trending up. Then, at the moment of truth, that trend probably speaks more than the exact player at that moment. You can justifiably, with good reason, forecast, the future by that trend. And if the trend's inversed, you take that into account. I think all of the things, the main thing that I think players that have been here, for this being their third year, have seen firsthand, and the players feel it during the course of camp. We don't pretend to know the final answer. I think that's super important, because I think you have to stay true to the, what is your primary importance, or what is the thing that is of primary importance. And to me, that is that players get to determine who should be on the team, who by their actions and not by a predisposed, like, everybody wins if the Dolphins are their best version of themselves. So we just push that, paying attention to everything, and where guys are at is very important. And sometimes there's the caveat of assessing trends, because you've been along for the journey the whole time, and can plausibly forecast.
Coach, yesterday Julian talked a lot about the pressure that comes with the orange jersey, both on the field but also on the aux. The orange jersey was something that you brought when you joined the organization. What was behind that? And also this year, who's had the best playlist?
So, I'm going to have to give credit where credit's due. I think the idea was a problem. I was presenting a problem to the offensive staff, I think, at the time. And the problem was, I have a lot of fire songs and my music is awesome, but I can't keep up with the daily, just the daily grind of keeping guys involved in practice through some music and some juice. On top of that, music is identifying me as old, because there's some stuff that I'm like, what? I feel like that same old guy that, that is cursing whatever music you like when you're growing up. So in that, John Embry came up with an idea of why don't you have a player every day kind of decide the playlist? In that, that fitting my competitive spirit, or the competitive spirit I was hoping to engender with practice. We thought it was kind of a cool idea to really highlight somebody to the team in a proactive or productive way, to bring acknowledgement to the day of practice they've had, and everything accumulating to that. And then really I found out through the process that people really, they're happy about that. They love the playlist. They love forcing the will of the listeners. And one of the rules about the orange jersey is that there's no such thing. You don't complain about the music during practice, because if you don't like the music, change the music. You know what I mean? So if you don't like Liam Eichenberg's playlist, all right, put on a show against him when he's wearing the orange jersey, and you can have a playlist, and you can truly show the audience how much better your musical ear is than theirs. So it's a fun thing we like doing, and guys seem to like it. And there is pressure, unintended consequence every single time. If I give an orange jersey to a defensive lineman, the offensive line takes it as an offense. If an offensive line gets an orange jersey, you better believe people are lining up to go against him in one-on-ones. That's a competitive spirit that I appreciate, and we do a good job protecting the team and protecting each other. So something I embrace.
You touched on Dan Quinn earlier. Can you speak to the influence he had on your career in those couple of years in Atlanta?
Yeah, no, it's 2 years can be a short time, or it can be a very, very impactful time. I was with Dan in Atlanta for 2 years, and from a head coaching perspective, he approached the job from a different angle that kind of fit, what I think you guys see today from from a lot of vantage points, the culture, the energy, and setting the tonality on a daily basis. These are things that the guys that worked for Dan, it was something that you really held on to, and I know I've held on to it for all the years since. And then, as well as just being, I was very, very fortunate to hit life in one of my crossroads with under his leadership in an organization that he was the head coach of. I don't know where I'd be if it could have looked a lot of different ways if you didn't have support when you were going through your journey of becoming sober. That it's a very different ball game if from the top, from Dan Quinn, if he's not saying, no, you can do this. That his belief in me, as well as a lot of the coaching staff there, aided with my wife's belief in me, made it a lot easier to do something that's been very important in my life. So love the man, the human being, the coach. I think you can all you need to know is listen to some player quotes about Dan Quinn that he's coached. He's a great man. I'm excited to see him today.
He said he loves you, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
According to Adam.
Really? Can you tell Dan Quinn through the internet that I love him more? Appreciate it.
Is there anything in particular you're looking for when it comes to today's joint practice?
I'm looking for today to matter. I say that to the players a ton, and you can make today matter for your season, the team, if you're fully committed and invested with the right mindset and focus for the job at hand. And trimming the fat, cutting out, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of exuberance in joint practices, and having your mind through competition still toward the team goal and the unit goal and your job on each and every play. That type of mindset adds up and builds over the course of the training camp that allows you to play your most convicted football, in the regular season, or allows you to play the most convicted football for this preseason game, which for a lot of participants is as important as a game could get. I just want it to matter, and how it matters is through intent. Are you prepared? Have you taken all the stuff that we've learned? Are you heeding to the points of emphasis? And then how do you respond to the inevitable play that the opposing team makes? All of those things are what I'm looking for, because I know I don't know exactly what. I just know today will matter if we operate accordingly.
With Erica's comment, just wanted to ask you thoughts on where he stands. Obviously, he's come back from an injury. Does the skill set still intrigue you in West, where you feel like there's a lot more that we can get out of this young player as he develops?
Oh, of course. I think that is kind of our model here with regard to what what is our position as coaches? As coaches, we're trying to maximize the talent of every player in their recognized dream. And Eric had a great day yesterday. I think he was the fastest GPS player. And I think guys are excited to be a part of his journey, and absolutely we are pouring into him to see what can come out.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.